Twitch. Welcome to the Buggy Start. My name is Adam. I'll be your host today for the Noobcast. We do this every Tuesday. We're talking about the top 7 games we find most interesting over here at OP Noobs. We will be reviewing a whole bunch more of them, but these are the 7 we're talking about today. Guys, thanks for being here. Ian, Ali, Paolo. I know Ian and Paolo, this is your first time. It's gonna be rough. Thanks for coming, guys. So we're gonna jump right into it. We have a game that I threw away my entire Tuesday on. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, a game that was never supposed to come out. But it did. We're here. March 30th it launched. They describe it as, quite dramatically actually, the horns sound, the ravens gather, an empire is torn by civil war. Beyond its borders, new kingdoms rise. Gird on your sword, don your armor, summon your followers, and ride forth to win glory on the battlefields of Calradia. Jesus Christ. Establish your hegemony and create a new world out of the ashes of the old. Now, if you were to actually watch someone play Mountain Blade, none of that description would really apply. It'd just be kind of a guy walking around with a horse. But who on the panel today has experience in the heavily cult followed game Mountain Blade? Just me?
Not me. I played a bit, but I'm trying. I'd like to try the new one soon. So since we are in lockdown here in Italy, probably I will soon finish my backlog of video games, and I will try this one as well because I like the medieval age.
Yeah, this is a game that was, I think, the first or the first launch date they gave was sometime in 2015 or 2016. So it's been years. This game has been in the making. The original Mountain Blade series was had many of the same systems, the complex medieval political systems, and the siege elements, and all the inner workings of this real time combat system that you're kind of seeing over my head. Like I said, it doesn't look terribly dramatic when you're just kind of watching the little horse guy move around on the map, but the systems here are really nuanced, really deep. The way you gather armies, the economies, the way your relationship affects other players and things like that, or other factions. But the thing was that when the game initially came out in 2005, it looked like a game from 1987. It looks like total garbage. I can't believe it had to look bad for even 2005. So that was sort of a barrier for a lot of players. I have to get past the fact that this game looks so bad. But Bannerlord, however, is the goal of Bannerlord seems to be to take all those systems, package them up in something that actually looks good, something that looks modern. Something that feels modern, something that has all the nuance to the gameplay that the systems itself do. So I'm really excited about Mountain Blade. This to me is a perfect lockdown game because it's there's one of the things that a lot of people love about it is that you seem to you play the game for about 1,000 hours and there's still new stuff happening. There's still just more events, more weird. You can throw a military coup, and there's all kinds of new and fun activities you can find well into the end game. The end game starts almost immediately. It's crazy. But I mean, the thing is that when you look at it, I don't even know what to compare this to. I know there's some people that initially compared it to something like Chivalry, the original Chivalry when that came out because it had those same melee elements, but I mean, I don't know. This game is going to be so tough for so many people to get into because of the insane amount of depth and commitment it requires to actually get the enjoyment out of it.
No, but that was a solid monologue.
I feel insulted just then, Fred.
No, I think that was solid. I'm perplexed by the whole thing, right? Perplexed for a couple reasons. First, this is a very good year in gaming so far, and Doom just hit me in the face, and I want to play it. And that's been taking me away with the little time I have to play video games. That's key, because I have the game. I bought the game. I bought Bannerlord, and I actually met the CEO of the studio, whose name evades me. I think 2-3 years ago at E3, and he was in full development, and we did an interview on YouTube, and that's when I became accustomed with the game. I had never heard of it before, and I know it's a pretty big deal in PC gaming. I also went on mainstream press and did not find all that much on Bannerlord. I think this is very this does not cater to just the whole community that is gaming as a whole. I think this is very much a PC game, and it's gonna cater to hardcore PC gamer, but in big numbers. At least I would think. And the stuff I see is not, I'm not personally blown away by the visuals and the graphics, but I'm intrigued. I'm perplexed because this looks like a game I've never played before. I think really nowadays, after 30 years of gaming, I think that's extraordinary to be able to put together something that I've never played before.
Yeah, doesn't happen often.
Right.
There was actually a good comment from M1 Garan in the chat here. It's Medieval 2 Total War meets Kingdom Come. Yeah. So it takes the massive scale battles that people love about the Total War series, and it does what it can to kind of bridge the micro elements of those massive battles. So you're still able to move around armies and position guys this way. You take this flank. I'm going to put my archers up over here for this kind of advantage, whatever. But you still get to be the general, riding around in your horse, decapitating people. So you like those
right.
those two worlds.
It still evolves around you. It still evolves around you, but the tactical side of it did not die.
And just the scale of it's huge. I mean, we're getting some of the combat here, but like it's tough to really you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of soldiers on each side. It's like that scene from Braveheart where everyone just clashes in the middle and shit. So there's very few games that attempt anything like this, or even really anything quite this big and ambitious.
Yeah.
And I really hope that, especially after the years of delays and stuff, that the studio gets the recognition they deserve for busting their ass on a really unique idea and a really fully fleshed out concept.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear
how difficult it is to get into the game.
The learning curve is so the thing about the game is that it's not like Escape from Tarkov, which is a game I played a lot of, where it's just really punishing. All of a sudden you've lost everything, although that can happen in this game. It's much easier to bounce back in here. What I struggle with so far still with Mountain Blade after 100+ hours is just is what I'm doing. Does this shit matter? Am I doing anything right? Like, just because there's no clear direction to the game whatsoever. So you just travel about, and everyone watch Fred struggle to get his sweater off. So yes, I would say that there is a little bit of excavation required to find the fun in this game, or to really get the gameplay loop, because it's just like there's this long phase of you just trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to be doing, and then you find out that you're not supposed to be doing anything at all. You're supposed to be more or less kind of garnering power, building an army, and then doing whatever the hell you want with that influence, with that power, whether that's being the right-hand man to this particular kingdom of these 4 or 5 factions, 5-6 factions, whatever it is in the game. Or you can become that right-hand man and then put together a coup and now you're running that kingdom and you're deciding trade routes and stuff like that. Or you can play the game for 300 hours and not do fucking anything about trade routes. Like there's a whole, like, you can really dive into the politics, into the management of a medieval kingdom. Or you can be like a scavenger and just pick off raiders and cause chaos all throughout Calradia. So it's totally not for everyone. This is the gamer's game kind of thing.
But I'm curious to actually hear from Paolo, because I don't know if I don't know if you've mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but Paolo runs Slytherin, who's a big indie publisher that's all about tactical games, and frankly, big learning curves, Paolo. And you're talking about learning curves. You're talking about diving into this game and kind of being intimidated by that. As a publisher, you know how do you guys understand learning curves, and how do you deal with it? And you know, I want to mute that by saying that obviously fans of tactical games like this, they're not necessarily. I think the bigger the learning curve for them, the better, right? Like that's why Stellaris that's why Paradox is having a great time with tactical gamers, because it's like that's in a way I would think it's the very point of the game is the learning curve, right? So
absolutely. Well, we know that a lot of people playing our games want games with a very steep and difficult learning curve. And basically, Slytherin publishes two different kind of games. The one from our Matrix etiquette, that are the more complex strategy games, while the Slytherin one are a bit more affordable by everybody. In any case, we are speaking about games where you have to spend at least 2 hours, 1 hour to understand exactly what happens and how to control them. For example, when we released Panzer Corps 2 1 week ago, we did around 12 videos on our YouTube channel explaining all the tactics, tricks to play the game. For example, encircle the enemy, or use the artillery, or use effectively use the transports to move the troops around the area. Obviously, it's difficult to understand, because I've been playing Panzer Corps 2 for 1 year in the beta process, and for me the game is easy because it's been 30 years for me to play war games on PC and tabletop. So, and another step is done using the beta, because we invite all the people that basically wants to try our games can enter the beta, signing an NDA, and we really care about their feedback, and often we adjust the difficult level basing on their opinion. For example, for Fantasy General 2, we entered a new level of difficult, an easier level of difficult, to allow the people to enjoy the game, even if they didn't know all the core mechanics of the troops, the aerial units, the artillery, and so. So I'm really interested, and
you basically walk him through a path that organically evolves. Would you say, Adam, that because I think at this stage you're the only one who's really dived into Bannerlord, even though you've only dived in today? Would you say that that's pretty much the experience? Like, how's the learning curve for you?
I mean, so Mountain Blade, I mean, there is a brief tutorial. Here's how you move your troops. Here's how you parry attacks and stuff like that, of course. But after that initial training phase, you are not so much set on an organic path like you're describing, and much more dropped in the middle of a field. Almost literally. I mean, you are out in the middle of nowhere when the game begins, and you just pick a direction.
Yeah.
I don't know what's over in this village. He's got a quest for me, I guess. I guess I'll do it. He needs me to caravan these sheep over to this other town, and then you run into another quest. So there is.
I'm happy it's single player, because the whole time I thought this was an online multiplayer, and I found there is
a multiplayer element that has a big following as well, because you can set up these 60 on 60 battles where it's a castle siege, defense and offense kind of thing.
Right.
But we do need to move on to the next game.
Yes, we do.
So Fred,
thanks for keeping us on track.
Shut your mouth. Shut up, Fred.
Shut up.
So
no, it's fair.
A game called Good Company, entering early access yesterday.
This is Tuesday. This is today. It just came out.
So this is an action light game. This is a simulation. This is all about the resource management. It has the quirky style. It's got the fun, jokey atmosphere to it. I love the way it looks. There definitely seems to be You can make a simulation game like this, a management game like this, just spreadsheets.
Yeah, and to me it's cliche, but to me it's cliche, but at the same time, this one has personality. I don't know if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? Like the graphics like that is very cliche. Ian, like you, I think you can speak a little bit about that stuff because this is like this should be pretty much down your alley.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the indie, low poly, bright and colorful thing. I'm kind of getting like Zachtronics games vibes from it, like Factor.io, or like just like building this thing that runs itself, but then kind of crossed with some tycoon or sim elements. It seems like, I don't know. Just briefly watching the trailer, but seems pretty neat.
This appeals to you?
I mean, graphically, like, yeah, I like cute Nintendo-esque stuff and like low poly models and bright colors. So yeah, I mean, I'm into it. The characters seem pretty expressive. It seems neat. It's not the genre of game I usually play, but I could definitely see a lot of people getting really into this.
Sometimes I wonder if I should start playing games like this. I play so many high intensity games that, like I said, I've been playing a lot of Escape from Tarkov, and then I went to Mountain Blade Bannerlord. So it's like from one hardcore experience to the next, and it's like each one demands my attention and focus. And so when my wife comes up and asks me a question, hey, what do you want to do for Jesus Christ? Like I want to, like maybe I should be giving more of these games a chance, where it's not quite so goddamn intense. I don't know. Does anyone play relaxing games anymore?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'm playing Animal Crossing right now, so it's very much like so relieving to like play a game that encourages you. You can just stop. Like it's like, oh, I'm kind of done doing stuff today, and you just put it down and come back the next day, or don't if you don't want to. I don't know. That's been really nice to experience lately.
Yeah, I don't know why I like to refer to these as my time waster kind of games. Like I don't really have that much invested into it, so like if my factory explodes, I'm not that sad about it. Whereas if I play a game of comp and Overwatch and we lose, and I'm really mad about it, and I can't I'll get heated sometimes, and so sometimes I just need something that just chill like this that I can just plug around and waste time on and relax.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed an uptick. So I mean, I keep going back to Tarkov, but yeah, it's like, I after dinner I come and play Tarkov for a couple hours, and then I sit down back on the couch with my wife. We start a movie. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, it was a rough night of Tarkov. Like games shouldn't do that.
I've lost everything.
I did. I kept losing everything. And it's so I don't know. I'm glad these games are made. I don't know if this is something. Especially when I see that spreadsheet. Just building a robot factory with all these cutesy elements. There, I'd have to imagine there's some people that are really going to appreciate this take on a simulation, on a tycoon. Okay, so we went a little over on Mountain. We're going to jump ahead to Over the Alps, which it seems to be. So here, we'll get through the description here. So postcards written in invisible ink reveal a secret history. Travel back in time in the debut game from Stave Studios, Over the Alps. Stay undercover, evade the police, and race across 1939 Switzerland in the Hitchcockian World War II spy thriller. Ian, have you ever heard the phrase Hitchcockian?
No, I don't believe so. But
no.
I do like that. I big ups to them for finding an angle for that, that core elevator pitch of just like, we put in a word you don't hear every day describing games. So
yeah,
it's always
Adam just wanted to put an emphasis on the word cock in that when he said it. That's all.
It also makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you hear Orwellian all the time. It just seems so cliche. But yeah, Hitchcockian World War II spy thriller. I could see this being fun. It's again not a game that's I would say is in my lane. And as I was flipping through gameplay footage on the Steam page on YouTube, I don't know what the hell you're playing here.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing that's making this stuff happen?
Guys, I played it because it was a game that was on Apple Arcade until today, probably. So I played on the iPhone, and I was attracted because it's set really close to my house. I live in Milan, in Italy, and that game is going to be set. Sorry, is set just north of here, to the border to the Switzerland, in just before World War II. And so basically, your duty,
I know exactly where it is.
Is trying to go over there. And it's like a game book. You know, the books where you can choose the path during when you read.
Oh yeah, like a pick your own adventure kind of thing.
Choose your own destiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of like 80 days, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I can see that.
I think it's funny to me because the genre itself is a genre I run away from. But this game, the way they applied the genre to their style and just the whole vibe that emanates from it, I want to play this. And I think this is there's a lot of elements that come from outside the genre as well that really come and complete it. And the graphics, the artwork is wonderful. It's truly wonderful.
The illustration style seems really strong, and like the motion graphics, animation look of it, it's nice.
Love the style, and I think this looks like a small team, right? Like this does not look like a big production, a big indie production. Obviously, you have like 10-15 people. This could be done between 1 and 5 people outside of the marketing team and stuff. And I don't know, seems fun. Seems like the type of games too that you don't see all that often. You see a lot of storytelling, story driven. But this is kind of, there's a, I don't know, when I was a kid, I used to play Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
That was exactly my first thought.
Right?
Exactly my first thought.
And like, this is completely different, but it picks up, the vibe I feel when I watch that, it's very similar, right? And it makes me want to dive back. It's kind of, there's just some nostalgia that happens to me when I watch this, right?
It's like Dick Tracy kind of looking guy they've got here on their Steam page that made me think that, but
yeah. I'm all for it.
Is Dick Tracy a big? Is that a big draw these days?
No, that was just kind of a popular thing when I was a little kid that I remember. Yeah. So
I remember a yellow suit.
Yeah.
Did he fuck with Roger Rabbit?
No, I don't think he'd do that.
Different guy.
I'm mixing up my pop culture references. But yeah, this looks like I'm getting Papers, Please. It's like a cutesy Papers, Please in visually. Like if Papers, Please had more than 3 fucking colors, it would look like Over the Alps. And I would like to but like the draw to Papers, Please wasn't the gameplay mechanics necessarily, although that was interesting in concept. It was more about just like falling in love with the personality of the game, falling in love with what this game is trying to do and how unlike anything else it is, really. And so I don't know if Over the Alps has that kind of appeal. It seems like this is maybe a little bit more I think the fact that the Papers, Please was kind of dark and tongue in cheek and didn't really care about your feelings, kind of a thing. I think that really connected with people.
You played Paper, Please?
I did. Yeah. I played it for a few hours.
I felt like playing it too. I never touched it.
It's a good few hours. Like, you know, it's just it is like if you had to point to something that kind of summed up an indie game, like what indie games can really achieve, Papers, Please has like this really unique throwback art style that no one was really doing at the time, really, with gameplay mechanics that didn't exist. I mean, it was fucking paperwork. It was literally organizing paperwork.
I'm not into it. I'm fucking not into it.
The funny story about that is he got his start like doing CD-ROM games for like car mechanic games that they would sell at Walmart and stuff, like the like really like shovelware like
that makes a lot of sense,
and it totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like like the mundane border check thing.
Yeah, I could see like a really dumbed down kids version of that game where you're use the wrench on the motor kind of thing. But you have this kind of intricate detail, like intentionally annoyingly detailed system of filing through this paperwork and trying to figure out discrepancies and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm looking at Over the Alps, and I'm seeing something that's pretty gameplay light, and pretty like they're really banking on people being pretty into the art and being pretty into discovering journal entries, I assume.
Well, they've got that big story-rich tag that like every single game has had recently. So
yeah, I think Fortnite gets the story-rich fucking tag.
Should have pitched my game as story starved.
Finally.
Story void.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Over the Alps has a strong narrative, and it's not only for kids because you have to understand which one is trying to betray you. So is really cute in the graphics, but the narrative is for people like of our ages. I mean, it's not for kids. And it was translated very well in Italian. Don't know the English version always, but the texts are very good, I presume.
It's hard to be overly childish in a game set in World War II.
The only the only downside is you don't have much to make your decision before you buy the game, right? Because there is a 2-minute trailer and nothing else. So
yeah.
And for me, a guy who's been evolving around indie press and just indie studios for half a decade now, like on a daily basis, God, you guys don't spend enough time on press kits. And I think that excludes you, Paolo, because you guys actually Slytherin is not a small indie house, right? I'm talking about the small indie houses. Guys, you don't spend enough time on trailers, you don't spend enough time on footage, on dev blogs, on all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, you spend years on a game, and the gamer, when he considers your purchase, he's just going to look at the trailer, and if there's not enough, he's just going to move on.
Yeah, you mentioned something about how this game can be made with 1 to 5 people, not counting the marketing department. And I'm looking at this game and seeing no fucking marketing department whatsoever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, because you look at this trailer, and I don't know how much the game costs. Is it like 10, 15, 20 bucks?
$12, $13.
It's $13, right? Mm-hmm. But you look at this trailer, and it's a risk. I mean, of course, it's a $13 risk, so it's not, although in these times of trouble, $13 is $13.
Yeah, they're not exactly competing with Doom. I get that.
Yeah, they're not competing with Doom, but at the same time, $13, you have no idea. You just have no idea how much of an experience this game is going to give you, right? And
yeah, but is that an hour worth of entertainment? I mean, you pay $13 to see a movie or something. I don't know.
$13 is $13. it's not inconsequential.
Hey, it's 10% off right now.
Right.
DJ Sketch actually makes a good point. I think we are the marketing department at the moment.
Yeah.
For Steve Studios.
Well,
somebody send them a bill.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
So along with Over the Alps and Good Company and Mountain Blade, it all came out today. Also go check out Void Space Early Access, which was a top-down 2D sci-fi sandbox MMO. Go check out Void Space. I have a feeling that might actually catch on. We'll see. Also Silent Sector, another solid-looking game. We're going to move on to something coming out on Wednesday. A game called Totally Reliable Delivery Service from Tiny Build Games. Sort of an indie darling is a dumbass overused phrase, but yeah, pretty much everything that Tiny Build does could be considered an indie darling.
Let me tell you something about Tiny Build, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Adam, but I saw this. Yeah. I saw this today because their CEO Alexo, I forget his name, he sent it to us. And Tiny Build is not tiny anymore. Let me tell you something. These guys, over the last 2-3 years, have grown even huger than they used to be with speedrunners, right? They had speedrunners, that's what got them started. And yeah, so that's the email. I have it in front of me. 30 million players for Halo Neighbor, the Halo Neighbor franchise, which they backed up. I think 2 years ago it came out, and then they had a couple of stuff. They now have 30 million players aged between the age of 8 and 16 only on that game. 30 million, that's a big number. They sold 2 million books of the franchise. They sold 2 million books of Hello Neighbors, the indie game that they backed 3 years ago. Made $16 million in sale. They now have 150 employees, 4 locations: Seattle, Amsterdam, Riga, Latvia, because Alexa is smart. He's investing in Eastern Europe, which I think when it comes to indie gaming is hot. Because actually the Eastern Europeans, they don't make games like the 2 games we just saw, right? They make much darker action-driven, action-packed games, or
well, yeah. Have you been to Europe?
Yeah,
it's pretty dark.
Or even when sometimes I make a few games storytelling about, it's always an analogy about like the evils of Russia. it's priceless, but most of the time they focus on action games. They've got the Eastern Europe. It's got, especially Croatia too. Got a fantastic gaming scene, and Boise, Idaho, and I think they're in Idaho. They've released a total of 40 titles, 25 projects currently in development. Tiny Build is growing huge, so I feel like you saying this darling of ours is a euphemism. They've got, they're competing against Devolver, which is the other big house, but Tiny Build.
It reminds me. So I don't know if you guys dig horror movies, but Blumhouse Productions, they make a lot of low budget horror movies, and some of them are actually really, really, really good. Like Get Out was one of them. But there's about 100 other Blumhouse movies that you've never heard of because they're awful. Which is not to say that Tiny Build makes a bunch of awful games, but when you're talking about like these guys that are able to actually support weird little ideas, weird, fun little games, and they're relatively low risk, but they're able to kick them out because they kind of match the brand a lot like Devolver. I mean, honestly, if I saw this on Devolver, I'd probably that would make sense too, just because they have a similar.
Devolver is a bit more hardcore.
Much more hardcore.
Yeah, Devolver is a bit more like Hotline Miami. Devolver started with Hotline Miami.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah,
I knew that was one of their big ones. I didn't know it was the first, but so
that's why I made them big.
Totally reliable delivery service. Reminds me, like, so the mechanics seem to work a bit like. Did anyone play Gang Beasts? It's like a fun, stupid beat 'em up you can play with your friends. Yeah. Oh, it's a blast. Like the mechanics of just grabbing stuff and pulling it around all sloppy.
Yeah.
That seems to be like these physics look hilarious. I wonder if this is going to attract the attention of the people that, like, I know chat has already mentioned Human Fall Flat and things like that. This seems to be an even sillier, even more overtly goofy version of those kind of loose physics-based platformers and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I mentioned Human Fall Flat because we were actually looking at this one to try to play it this weekend on their beta. A couple friends that I played Human Fall Flat with before, because it looks like a sillier, goofier version of that. So we went to go try to play it, and even though it said the beta was online, it was only local. So we didn't get to check it out. So we wanted to play something together, but definitely something that we would play just for, a couple laughs every now and then.
But again, like, I think that's, I want to be harsh here and say that's almost unacceptable out of Tiny Build. Because Tiny Build, Devolver releases a ton of games. Tiny Build is a little bit more selective. And they really don't do all that much in terms of press kits again. Not to kind of beat the hammer on the nail. But because like we only have 3 minutes of footage to evaluate whether we want to buy this game or not. And what we're just supposed to rely on the fact that if Tiny Build is good enough for Tiny Build, it's good enough for me. Well, no, right? Like, that's just not how things work. So So I don't know. And plus, quite frankly, this game does not. Now I'm gonna get very critical. Like, it does not look like fun to me. It just doesn't look like fun to me.
Games like this are funny in a group of people where you can, especially Human Fall Flat, you like climb up a building and you finally get to the top and your buddy just chucks you off the side and you got to climb back up the top, and it's kind of funny and silly. And I mean, it's
a party game.
Yeah,
you're kind of, the game is, it seems to be more a framework to create goofball moments with your friends. And I wonder, Ian and Paolo as devs, I wonder what you guys think of something that isn't really, like how not fleshed out and how unpolished it is seems to be part of the basic mechanics of the game. Do you guys see that as maybe I don't want to put any words in your mouth or make you agree to something, but like could you see that as like maybe a cheap gimmick or just something that isn't going to last?
I think to me, I'm getting the like Goat Simulator vibes from it, where it has strong like toy vibes, which I think is totally fine. I mean, I'm very open to almost any kind of game. And I think these sort of games are run off of engagement from streamers having fun and goofing around with it, and then people picking that up and like, going back to Mountain Blade, you aren't supposed to play this for 100+ hours and learn a million different systems. You're supposed to be able to dive in with some friends, have a good time. Maybe you just spend $13 to play it for 3 hours, and that's totally fine. And if you stay with it longer, then that's cool too. But I think a lot of these games are with that like toy perspective, where it's like have some fun, be creative, and goof off for a while, and then
put it down and not think about it for 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. And then every now and then, hey, you guys remember that one game? Let's play that again for a little bit. We do that all the time. We just roll through our Steam library, see what everybody else has that we could just get a couple good laughs out of, like Goat of Duty. We played Goat of Duty this weekend, which
oh my god,
yeah, no, I've heard of that. Is it fun?
It's hilarious. It's one of those ones that you're not going to sit there and play every day, but to just...
Is it fun? Is it successful?
I had a blast. It was super funny. I laughed super hard. I don't know about how successful it is, but one of my friends was streaming it, and I think one of the devs came in and was like, hey, here's this bug that we know about, but like if you just do this, it'll fix it.
It's a funny concept. It's a funny concept.
It's really fun. It's good for a laugh.
Yeah. But on second thought, when I look at this, now that I'm starting to play video games with my kid on the couch, because he's 7, this looks like, sorry about my background, this looks like it would be a lot of fun.
Wife, out of here.
She's not supposed to do that, by the way. But she knows it. But,
I'm the only girl on this stream, goddammit.
But yeah, exactly. But just to think, me spending an hour with my kid on the couch playing this, I could probably have a very good time with my boy, just being silly. But yeah,
it really gives you guys a good feeling of the difference of how different Fred and I are, where we're at in our lives.
Yeah, it is.
Talking about how it would be great to sit down with his kid for an hour and play around with these fun physics things. I'm thinking this would be ideal for after I come home shit faced from the bar. And I could just play around with this dumb delivery mechanic,
I want your life.
Or from the living room right now as it stands.
All right, so we do have another couple of games that are worth highlighting. Of course, this one from Tiny Build. If you like Tiny Build games, there definitely does seem to be something worth checking out here. But we also have Zatorsky PhD from XYN Games, as well as Mad Cat's World Act 1, Not by Meat Alone. Did you make that up, Fred?
No, but I challenge you to speak for 10 minutes about this game.
I give up already.
Just say one word every couple minutes.
I've already talked more about that game than anybody else on the planet has, other than the developers. So we got releases on Thursday. The first one we're talking about here is going to be Dread Tides, an early access strategy game. Pull it up for myself over here. So Dread Tides is a strategy game set in a post-apocalyptic Post-apocalyptic fantasy world, explore a land lost to corruption, harness its resources, research lost technology, and protect your people. Can you build a city capable of defeating a magical coronavirus cataclysm?
Whoa. Don't go there. Don't go there.
Ouch. Too soon.
Why would you do that?
Too soon.
Just try to keep it topical.
Jeez.
So I'm looking at the grid-based, almost a little bit. I'm getting some Civilization vibes, although it seems to happen in real time, more like an RTS. But it has. What do you guys see when you look at this? Because again, it's this goes back to our kind of criticism of some trailers. I'm looking at gameplay, and I can't put it together in my head what my hands are doing while I play this game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can't quite tell if it seems like it's almost like a strategy tower defense city builder, like all those things. Like
I can see that with the way those three big monsters were running through that lane.
Yeah, and like there was like a row of enemies just kind of all marching and being shot by like arrow towers and stuff. So yeah, that's what I saw, but who knows if that's accurate or not.
Yeah.
Artwork, fantastic.
Artwork, fantastic. Yeah, I almost did you guys play, a game that I found out later in life nobody liked, but I played it as a kid, Black and White. This was like early Peter Molyneux days.
Yeah, Black and White's awesome.
Yeah, so you and I are the two of the 7 people that enjoyed it, I guess.
You probably had the big PC game box of it too.
Huge box. Yeah, and the whatever computer we had at home just played like shit. So I when I'm looking at these top-down views and just kind of the feel of it, I want this to be modern Black and White. Does that exist? I don't think it does. So. Is there a modern adaptation of Black and White where you are this omnipotent god sort of loosely controlling a civilization? I don't think that's what's happening here. But I just am not stoked about Dreadtide, so I'm trying to find something to talk about.
Plus the thing about Black and White is it's also like Tamagotchi. Like you have to like take care of your weird
there's a lot of babysitting.
It's just like similar to this, it seems like 3 games in one. With the Dreadtide, but I'm not sure which games that those are.
Yeah, this is definitely a criticism of the trailer more so than of the game itself.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know. Like, so I'm thinking that I'm building things in those grids.
I struggle to even find that trailer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I struggled. The problem is this week is kind of funky because I went through just the generic number of games, which I think like 100, 120 games. And these are the best ones. Everything is, it's Steam, right? Like you're always going to have like 50 games every week that are not games or jokes. But the problem is you've got Resident Evil 3. That's coming up at the end, and you've got Bannerlord. So it's those 2 games that made everybody else say we're staying out of this week.
Could you imagine being a Dreadtide, almost all the games we've talked about so far, being any one of these other games that's trying to release alongside Doom and Bannerlord and Animal Crossing, and it's like, how do these guys? Oh, is that you? Do you?
Yeah.
I'm releasing a game tomorrow, so
I didn't realize it was coming out tomorrow.
It's target audiences, right? Like, my game is like a fun, cute physics game. People playing Mount and Blade and Doom are not. That's not like Animal Crossing. Definitely, everybody has to deal with Animal Crossing, and also just as an indie dev, it's a minefield out there. Like
it is. Yeah.
So this week seems bad. 2 weeks from now, there will be 4 other games.
It's a good year in gaming, I think.
Yeah, it's a good year in gaming, but like, there's so many games now that it gets more and more packed. So that you can almost like you'll pick your target date a few months ahead of time, and then it comes around, and you're like, oops, or whatever's going on. So it's sort of inevitable.
But
like an apocalypse or something. I don't know.
I just to kind of defend my position as to why I plugged this game in. It's just because of the shortage of other games. The thing is, to me, this is interesting, right? Like this is, there's something there. Definitely put aside the artwork that we've already established is pretty great. Look at that; it looks beautiful, it looks wonderful, and these guys have a lot of whoever's drawing that has a very epic style to drawing and very personal. But the game itself too, my biggest beef with the way the game looks, it feels sluggish, right? It feels a little bit on the sluggish side of things. But there's elements that there's that Minecraft vibe that's mixed with city building, or that could work potentially if it's done in an interesting way. And I really like the way they worked with their lights and kind of the shades and the way the game comes out. It's a very personal game. And I like a big indie production. By big, I don't mean like big indie I mean big small indie production, if that even makes sense. I like the fact that it's just has so much personality. To me, a game that has personality deserves recognition.
Yeah, it's tough for an indie studio to. It's simultaneously the toughest thing, but also maybe one of the most crucial things to an indie game success is because they're not necessarily going to be able to compete on just pure quality or production value, that kind of thing. And so they have to inject meaningful amounts of personality and nuance to the gameplay and unique concepts and things like that have to find their way in. Otherwise, what's gonna draw people away from something bigger and more expensive?
Paolo, would you have anything to say about this?
Yes. Well, I work for a publisher that is Slytherin that publishes games from small teams, and so I understand the point. One of our big efforts for every game, from the bigger one like Panzer Corps to the smaller one, just for people that wants to play board games on PC, for example. The biggest problem is not only doing a good game, but is to stand out on Steam or other shops where we have literally 10,000 games each year. So I'm interested in your point of view, speaking about the trailer and so, because we do our best by our experience, by the experience of the publisher that is much more than mine, doing videos, developer's diary, everything we can do to boost the interest in the game, because the problem is to let the people know we are going to publish some games, and for an indie totally independent studio is even much more difficult, because a game like this one, without a huge publisher behind, a medium publisher behind, is very difficult. The people even know the game is going to be out this week, because as you said, this week will be released Resident Evil. Last week we had games like Doom and Animal.
It's a tough game. It's a tough week to get.
So you have to sneak out. Slytherin, I think, is lucky because we have a niche of gamers that follow us in every aspect of our games, but we also try to have.
So
games
your player base actually crosses over.
What? Sorry.
You would say your player base crosses over your games?
I think we have different niches. For example, we have people that is playing Gladius from Warhammer 40,000, the Battlestar Galactica strategy games. So we try to appeal to a wider audience. But I also know that a lot of our games like the war games in general. So when they know Slytherin is going to release a new game, they at least try to see it on the video or try the beta, and so
it's the same like Paradox and so forth.
This is why we do only strategy games, and we don't want to go outside and do something different.
You keep your niche,
As my boss says every time, niche is good.
Yeah. Well said.
You can pick up Dread Tides this Thursday, going into early access from Headbite Studios. So you're going to see more development on the game. We'll see what it looks like. Like the art direction is cool. We'll see if it garners some kind of audience. Our next game, Fred, I think you're just fucking with me. So what is Fred? I'm going to make you introduce this one. First of all, how do you pronounce it? So,
are we not together on? Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, no, we're not. We are not to Resident Evil 3 yet. Get that trailer.
I'm on that. I thought you wanted me to say Resistance.
What?
I thought you wanted me to say Resistance.
Nazem, what the fuck is this?
Oh, I told you to skip it, but I'll bring it right back.
Oh, yeah, wait, did you?
You know what's funny? It's because it's that I over-prepared for this stream more so than I ever do, and I have no clue how this game got in. I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, did I just blink? Wait, what happened there? Like, how?
No, you
it's
said
not
the
even
Jekyll and Hyde game.
What trailer are you playing,
What
Fred?
trailer are you playing right now,
What is
Fred?
this?
Yeah, this is even worse, right? Like, yeah, this is okay. Good, it's the wrong trailer. Okay, good, guys, it's the wrong trailer.
Let's go to Resident Evil. We're going to Resident Evil because I don't want to talk about this Jekyll and Hyde shit.
What the fuck was that one?
La Resistance, let's go.
Was that the Pop-Tart cat? What is that?
I don't know what it is.
Let's send Paolo to sleep. It's 4 a.m. in Italy.
Okay, oh, sorry, Paolo. Okay, so Resident Evil 3, of course, a cornerstone game in the horror genre in games in general. This looks ridiculous. I don't know. Oh my god, the multiplayer aspect of it from Resistance. Resident Evil 3's story. This looks fantastic. I am such.
Are you excited about this?
So I wouldn't say maybe not excited, but I'm just stoked that a cynic like me, someone that has had enough sequels and remakes for 9 lifetimes, to see a sequel / remake come out, and they really seem to give a shit.
Capcom does. Capcom gives a shit.
Make anything with Resident Evil on it, and it'll sell. So let's just remake it, slap the stickers on, and get it out on shelves. There really seems to be some love for the franchise here.
So
go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead,
so
Fred, you goddamn cynic.
Okay, yeah, because I have a lot of exciting things to say about this. Like, and it feeds off of what you're saying, which is that, like, I completely feel you on that front. I think Capcom. They're doing it right. They're doing it well. Should they do it? I really don't think they should. That's the thing. It's, Resident Evil 2 was the one that came out last year, exactly a year ago. And they're timing them that way. They're like basically following Disney, turning like their animation film into... but Resident Evil 3 wasn't a big hit. I don't even remember Resident Evil 3, frankly. So when I watched this stuff, and I played all the Resident Evils.
Yeah, it was the one that was right after 2.
Yeah, but it was pretty inconsequential. And so I don't know. Like the thing is, I played Resident Evil 2. I admit it was fantastically done. Like, bravo, Capcom. Did I have fun? Not really. I just went through the experience. I wasn't bored, but I didn't come out thinking that was Resident Evil 6 kicked my butt from a creative standpoint. I walked out of Resident Evil 6 thinking that was one of the best Resident Evil games I have ever played. And that was a game from 2018, and it felt like a game from 2018, right? Like, you were glued to your seat in a very modern approach to making these types of games. Whereas Resident Evil 2 felt like me going through a very, game design that was 20 years ago. Despite of the fact that it looked like a 2020 game, it looked even better than Resident Evil 6. And so I just don't get motivation Capcom has. I just don't understand why Capcom is so motivated to make those remakes. Are you gonna say, well, Fred, it's money? But why are we so kind of respectful of just doing that? Because we're all thinking this is great. We get fantastic remakes, but they're not great because gaming has evolved, right? And so that's where I'm coming from. So make a very long story long. I think I applaud Capcom, but at the same time, I'm yawning. I want to play Resident Evil 7.
Is anyone yawning at Resident Evil right now? There's got to be. It's just Fred, right?
I think it's just Fred.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I actually,
guys, what do you? Yeah, go ahead.
I have to admit, I've never played a Resident Evil game. I've seen one of the movies.
What?
The movies
know,
are way
crazy.
better anyway.
The movies are great.
What consoles did 2 and 3 come out on?
That would have been 2 came out on the 64 and the PS1, and then 3. I don't know if 3 made it to the 64. That was probably the next generation. That was probably PS2.
Sure. I think that's a big part of the appeal is just the like separation from access to that hardware. Like even short of it being a remaster, even if they just launched it without any changes and they were like, you could play it on Steam or whatever, I think a lot of people would pick it up. And then on top of it being a remaster, I think a lot of people have a high tolerance for replaying a game, even if it, you know, I can't speak to this because I haven't played either of the remasters or the old games, but just reliving an experience you've already had, you forgive so much about dated mechanics, etc. I know that's my experience playing old games that are close to my heart, whether it's on DOS or whatever. So
Yeah, you have a good point, Ian. And it may be the same thing that I did with Borderlands 3, where I was like pumped for that game. I waited so long for it to come out, waited for a couple hours, didn't touch it. So maybe I do the same with this thing too.
Well, I think.
Go
ahead, Paul.
I think that this kind of remakes are very good for younger people because there are a lot of people that now have 15 or 16 years old that couldn't play the game on the original release date, and so they can recover the game and play now on modern hardware. And I know that I didn't play the new one, obviously, but I remember the Resident Evil 2 remakes had some improvement in the gameplay that are more modern, keeping the respect for the original one with the save system that was really punishment. I mean, it was very difficult to finish that game. So I think it's good. And there will be some people like Fred that will play the game because he reminded the good old times when we were a bit younger and could play a lot. And so I think it's a good operation as far as there is a respect for the classic. And I know that Capcom has the respect for their own brand.
I remember I reviewed the Secret of Mana remake a while ago, and what was both a gift and a curse for that game, I guess you could say, was that it was modernized visuals, and they changed just about nothing in the gameplay. So if you wanted to play Secret of Mana, which was a terrific game on the SNES, and you just wanted it to look more or less like an RPG made in the late 2010s, then, you know, I guess that scratched the itch. I don't think that's exactly what they're doing with Resident Evil. Like you were saying, Paolo, they're taking these systems that they either know have aged well or just hope have aged well, and giving it that modern sheen. I mean, the things that have aged so well with Resident Evil, or the things that made Resident Evil so great back then, was the atmosphere, was that kind of hopeless nightmare that you were stuck in. And I think that, and while I do think you're right, Ian, that if you just released Resident Evil 2 as you played it on the 64 cartridge, you're totally right. It would sell. People would buy it. But I'd be willing to bet that atmosphere that was achieved on the N64 it would be really hard for your modern brain to see those chunky pixely graphics and have that same biting nightmare immersion factor as if you were today. Because I mean, if you look at the graphics on these games, on the new Resident Evil 2 and on this one, everything just looks wet and nasty and creepy, and it's and you just cannot take that away from the original games, even if they do hold up well.
Yeah, I think and then it's interesting to compare like these HD remasters compared to something like the new Final Fantasy VII, which is just like they threw the entire game in the garbage and just made a new game with the same characters and roughly the same story
and a third the content.
Thinking about remasters as a spectrum between like it's literally just the graphics and we made it run on your modern hardware versus all the way on the other side where it's like we just threw everything out about the game and made an action RPG, and like this sounds like it's maybe somewhere in the middle of that, right? Like there's some modernization of like mechanics and controls, but it's still relatively the same game and experience.
Yeah. And just real quick before we wrap up, so Resident Evil Resistance is going to be the multiplayer content included with the game. Yeah. Is there room for another scary asymmetric multiplayer game where someone plays big bad monster, everyone else plays helpless peasants running for their lives? Are we sick of that yet?
I think their first one did well, right? What's it called? Resident Evil Revelations?
Resident Evil Dead by Daylight, I believe, was the...
No, I don't think that's Dead by Daylight.
No, it's not Dead by Daylight.
I'll say Dead by Daylight's a different game.
It's a totally other game.
I think are you making fun of me? There's a Resident Evil.
Usually.
Yeah. What a smart ass you've become. There's a Resident Evil Revelation, I think it's called. Help me out here. There's a Resident Evil that looks just like that, except it was made maybe 6-7 years ago. And it's action-packed. It's action-driven. It's all about killing zombies, slaughtering zombies.
There was a mode in Resident Evil 4 that looked a little bit like, it wasn't asymmetric. It was more like a wave-based thing. But yeah, I just wonder if because we've been trying to make the asymmetric thing work for a long time, and with mixed success. I remember I reviewed Hunt years ago, and that was like the first game that I recall had the asymmetric elements to it that just totally flopped. Like there was a big opportunity here to create like a really unique multiplayer experience. Not everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's got these very particular goals, and it just, something about it didn't work, and that seems to kind of keep happening with these asymmetric multiplayer games. But yeah. Oh, this didn't do well. Yeah. Gotcha. All right, guys. I think that does it for us today. Oh shit! We got a raffle. Okay.
I tried to remind you.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Allie. Okay. We're spinning the wheel of copywritten fortune. The visually impaired gamer? Oh shit! Yeah, sorry, mine was lagging.
There it goes. Yeah, mine was lagging.
Congratulations! You got that F1 game. Hope you like driving cars real fast, because I don't know shit about that series. So want to thank the panel, Ian, Paolo. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Allie, thank you as always. Guys, we do this every Tuesday night. It's a weekly deal, so feel free to hit that follow button. We've been at this for a while. Keep getting better at it. Just working our way towards getting rid of Fred. Yes, Natsume will be back eventually. But yeah, thank you, Twitch. It has been a wonderful night. Have an awesome night, guys. Hit the follow button. Love you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.